everybody, it's Faye. Welcome back to my channel. Today is February 1st, 2018. I almost said 2017. I apologize, I didn't get more videos up in January. I have not been feeling well and I'm finally starting to come out of it. So I figured I would start off today with a little bit of a story time and share with you guys my experience of having gastric bypass surgery or weight loss surgery, depending on how you look at it. When I graduated from high school in 1986, God, I feel old. I think I weighed about 155, 160 pounds. I was not super heavy for my weight range and my age. I'm 5'4", so I think the ideal weight is around 120, 130. So, I mean, kind of a little bit heavier, but I never really looked at it as having issues with my weight. As the years went by, definitely started gaining a little bit, but didn't start really gaining until I was diagnosed with rheumatoid back in '93 and put on a cocktail of medications, of which I've mentioned before how there wasn't medications out there like Enbrel, Humira, the things you see advertised on TV, what are considered biologics. Those medications didn't come around until the late 90s, and when they did, they changed the game. When I was diagnosed, it was figuring out a cocktail of medications between methotrexate, sulfasalazine, gold shots, prednisone, and other things. Prednisone is where my problem started. Prednisone helps your system fight, which is why they give it to you for, if you have pneumonia, or it helps with inflammation. So if you've messed your back up or a joint, a lot of times they'll give it to you as a short-term thing to try to help with managing inflammation. Well, with me, it just made me want to eat. I was never a binger. I was never one of those people that purged, was never anorexic, was never any of those things. After getting on the prednisone, I felt like I could never stop eating. Felt like I always wanted to eat. Add to that, having some depression issues, and that just made it all the worse. So from the time I stopped working in 2001 to 2005, I gained about 300 pounds. Where things really started to kick in for me was we went to a family reunion in July of 2005. I hadn't seen some of these relatives in 5, maybe 10 years. My dad died at 95 of a massive heart attack. He was well over 450 pounds. I don't know the exact weight he was at the time of his death. He was 55 years old. He had a massive heart attack and dropped. He was diabetic. There were other health issues going on. I don't know the extent of the health issues, as I was estranged from him at that point, but there were issues. And this was my dad's side of the family that we were visiting, and I saw it in their eyes. I saw them afraid I was going to die. I could see the worry, the panic. After that, we went to Disney, and we ended up cutting the trip short because I had started snoring so badly, and it was weight-related, that nobody could get any sleep. We came back a couple days early because everybody was just exhausted. So that was kind of the first thing that really started to kick my butt into gear, into thinking that I really needed to get help with this. Somewhere around the end of October, beginning of November, I had read a news article that said that Medicare would pay for gastric bypass surgery. Now, I had primary insurance through my husband. Medicare was my secondary because of being on Social Security disability. So I figured between the two, something should pay for this. So I started looking into programs, and the nearest one to me was Akron City Hospital. I started through the program at Akron City. I think my first appointment was the week after Christmas, and started the process going, of which we had to do a bunch of tests. I had to have stomach scope. They did the other end, checked my heart, had psych, had all these different things I had to do. Well, they diagnosed me with an ulcer, so I had to go back 30 days later to have another scan. In the meantime, before they would schedule me, they demanded $2,000 down. That $2,000 had to be in cash. It was non-refundable. It was to pay for nutrition and counseling and things after the surgery that insurance wouldn't cover. My mom put the money down, figuring it would save my life. And they kept pushing my surgery date off. They wouldn't schedule. Part of it was because of needing to go through the second stomach scope to make sure the ulcer was gone. But there was something else going on behind the scenes, which I didn't find out until February 27th. As of March 1st of 2006, Medicare was no longer paying for bariatric surgery through any place but a center of excellence. Well, Akron had been doing the program for about 2 years. They hadn't had enough time in to be considered a center of excellence. And instead of being honest with me and upfront with me, they took my $2,000. I never got any of it back. They couldn't schedule it and basically discharged me from the program because they couldn't get me scheduled because of my insurance. Come to find out later, they never ran it through my primary, which plays into this as well. So at that point, because it had to switch to Center of Excellence, my choices were Cleveland Clinic. There was a hospital in Cincinnati, there was one in Columbus, there was one in Erie, Pennsylvania, there was one in Pittsburgh. Basically talking an hour and a half to 2 hours, if not more. Cincinnati is almost 5 from here. I looked into all these different programs. Cleveland Clinic would have been my first choice. They were like, well, you have to go on a waiting list and you have to start everything over. We can't take any of those tests. I just paid for a bunch of those tests out of pocket. My insurance was good, but I still had to pay, co-pays, things like that. I wasn't happy. And Columbus was like, oh yeah, we can, work on getting you in, but you're going to have to do all the tests again. Call all these programs. Finally got in touch with University of Pittsburgh. The office staff there was amazing. They connected me to the doctor on my first call. I explained to him, had gone through all of this, and this is what happened. I'd like to not have to do all the testing again. And he basically said, well, my biggest thing is you have to go through one of my seminars before I will see you as an individual patient to discuss surgery. Most of these places have these seminar things where you have to sit down and either watch a video for a couple of hours or go to these seminar meetings that are usually one night a month. I had to wait until, I believe, the beginning of April before I could get into the seminar. And then from there, they were waiting for me. They were waiting for my application and fast-tracked me from there. Didn't make me have to redo any of my tests. I think I made 3 trips to Pittsburgh before I had surgery. Surgery was scheduled for June. So, ended up having my surgery, which I had a Roux-n-y procedure, which basically that's where they basically make your stomach about the size of a golf ball, and then they reroute the intestines as well. I'll put a graphic in that kind of shows. Now, it's different than the gastric sleeve. Gastric sleeve is more like a stomach stapling, or it's not a full rerouting. It's making a pouch and leaving leaving the digestive system as it exists, but creating a pouch so that you are not eating as much. One of the big things with this is that I lost that ability in my brain that told me I was full. We'll get to that in a minute. So I get ready to have the surgery, find out my primary insurance is paying for it 100%. So on top of not being able to do it locally, not getting my $2,000 back, which I'm still pissed about to this day, because they never did any of the things that they should have done with that money, and they should have given it back to me if they weren't able to schedule. And I think part of the reason they didn't get me scheduled is because they didn't want me pushing the issue about getting that money back. I think it was over 30 days at the point when I finally found out what was really going on. And I've never seen any of that money back, and I'm still pissed about it to this day. And I will never, ever suggest somebody goes to that program just because of that. A little bit heated over this. So I end up getting my surgery date in Pittsburgh, which was in June. At that point, the night before we left, because we left a day before my surgery. The night before we left, I took a picture. At that point, I was 425 pounds. I had lost 25 pounds in the process of, I kind of got sick after we went on that trip and lived on Gatorade and bananas for a couple of weeks, maybe about a month. I lost a little bit of weight then and managed to keep it off. So 425 at the point that I had surgery. In Pittsburgh was amazing. One of the prerequisites of this program, the doctor who ran it, you had to have either experienced it, had the surgery if you were going to be working in it, or have been in the stomach surgery in that business for, 15, 20 years, which this surgeon had been doing things for over 20 years. One of the interesting things about it was that a lot of places require you to go on like OptiFast or MetaFast, which is a liquid diet a couple weeks before surgery. So basically you're not eating anything beforehand. My doctor was like, you know what, I'm not going to make you go through all of that. Just, watch what you're eating the last couple days. The 48 hours before surgery, you're going to have your last meal, of which my last meal was pizza and Coca-Cola. And you're going to spend a long time after this trying to relearn how to eat. I'm not going to make you do all this and one of the reasons they do the liquid is because they say that it helps reduce some of the fat around the liver. He said he'd been doing this long enough that he had never seen a big enough impact of the reduction in fat for it to be beneficial with having somebody do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even a month of this liquid diet. And that a lot of doctors do it as a way to see if you can be compliant, to see if you actually can follow what you need to follow to be successful. So I had 48 hours out, had pizza and Coke. We ended up going to Pittsburgh, got a hotel, and I had my surgery. I woke up sicker than sick. They were amazing. I mean, the staff was amazing. They made sure my pain control was awesome. But I was so sick. When they discharged me, I spent 2 more days in the hotel because I was so nauseous. I knew I couldn't make the 2-hour drive home. Finally get to the point of being able to make the drive home, and that's when everything changed. The initial diet afterwards was 2 weeks of pure liquid diet. It had to be clear liquid. 2 weeks of, then you could go into like colored liquids, soft foods. Another 2 weeks after that, we had soft food was like puree. Then the week after that, then soft food, and then regular food. It was like an 8-week process. I will admit, I was cooking for my family and still dealing with making their food and trying to deal with my diet restrictions. That I sucked on a French fry for McDonald's because I wanted it so badly. I sucked on it, got rid of it, did not eat it. I also, when I got to the puree stage, I pureed a piece of pizza and ate like 4 bites of it, and damn, it was good. But you cope with it in different ways. One of my other big things was I did this all on sugar. Aspartame, NutraSweet, phenylalanine, all of those are migraine triggers for me. So I did this all on natural sugar. Splenda wasn't something that existed back then. So having done it on sugar kind of changed things for me versus other patients, because I was drinking juices, I was drinking, a lot of people would drink Crystal Light. Well, I can't drink that because of the NutraSweet. I'd have patients staring at me in the waiting room during the post-op visits and looking at me like I was a total idiot because I was drinking like pure apple juice or like Gatorade and not being like Powerade Zero or something like that. So finally, get all of this done, get home, start doing my follow-ups. Everything is going well, and I started dropping the weight like crazy. In the end, my peak loss was almost 325 pounds. Over the years, I have kind of put a little bit of that back on. I'm not obsessive about getting on the scale, and I knew that if I would become obsessive about it, that it would take over my life. So I don't weigh myself all the time. I know other people who do. I just jump on the scale occasionally. I'm more in like, how do I feel in my own skin? I tend to hover between about 190 to 210, depending on the time of year, how much exercise I'm getting. Exercise is definitely an issue. When the weather is nice, I do walk, but I also have issues with my ankles. I've had 2 surgeries on each one, so exercise I have to do very low impact. Like right now I'm having a problem with my ankle that's probably going to end up being surgical in a couple months, and it's really starting to impact me the way I'm able to walk and kind of move around. So I'm going to have to definitely adjust my diet to that. But from a maintenance standpoint, especially being, like I said, 12 years out at this point, I still watch what I eat. I eat a lot of protein. I tend to eat low-fat turkey, and provolone is one of my more favorite things. I do drink a lot of coffee. I do drink Coca-Cola. It's one of my bad vices. I shouldn't be drinking any type of carbonated soda. That's where I screwed up. The biggest thing post-op was calcium. You take all these supplements afterwards, and you continue to take supplements the rest of your life. What I take is a prenatal vitamin. It's a food-based one, so it's easier to digest. And I was supposed to be taking calcium supplements, which the calcium supplements at that point were either the calcium pills or the Viactive Chews had just come out. They were so expensive I couldn't afford them. So I would take calcium pills. They would just sit on my stomach and almost act like I was getting another ulcer from them. It would make me very sick. So I didn't take as much calcium as I should have. I did drink milk, I did eat cheese, but because of it, that's where the issues with my teeth came in, because my body has pulled calcium. I am severely osteoporotic. I do go through osteoporosis treatments a couple times a year at Cleveland Clinic. I think my last bone density, which was last year, I did have an 11% increase in density, which is a good thing, but I'm still considered severely osteoporotic. Other than that, the other issue I have, and I have to really watch, is that I don't have that switch to where I can turn, or where my brain tells me I'm full. I have to pretty much gauge by the amount of food that I eat as to how full I am. If I don't pay attention and I overgraze or eat something that's super rich, I end up having what's called dumping syndrome. Dumping syndrome, you start sweating, you get very sick, very nauseous, upset stomach, your food can go straight through you, a lot of bathroom time, and it's not a pleasant experience. I don't have it happen very often. It does happen occasionally. My biggest thing is if I eat something and I don't throw it up within 5 minutes of eating it, it's not coming back up. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not coming back up, and if I start having an issue, I'm going to suffer through it. And it's not fun, but it is what it is. In the end, would I do it again? In a heartbeat. Even with the problems that I've had, I would do it again, because I've been here for the big things that have happened in my daughter's life. I got to see her graduate from high school. I got to see her graduate from college. I'm hopefully going to get to see her get married next year. Maybe have grandchildren, although she's not real keen on having grandkids. I don't know if they will, but that's definitely something that's out there in the future. I'm here. I'm alive. Every morning I get up and I say a little thank you that I'm still here and that I woke up to live another day. I try to make the most out of every day. Not always the best at it. I do have times where I do stay in bed. I do still fight my depression. Losing the weight didn't escape me from the other problems in my life. And the biggest thing is this wasn't a solution. It was a tool in my arsenal. Because I tried all these diets. I did everything from Atkins to Weight Watchers to the cabbage soup diet. All of it. You name it, I've done it in some point in my life. And at this point, I'm happy with where I am. I'm happy with the loss. I'd like to lose a little bit more. I need to get back into a stricter pattern of things, because I definitely have let things go in the past couple of years. But I'm also happy, and that's the biggest thing. When I got divorced, I got down to about 175, I think was my biggest loss. That was off of the divorce diet, and I wasn't eating. I was depressed. I still am depressed, but I still managed to eat, and I still managed to keep enough fuel in me to keep me moving and doing things. But at the end of it, I would do it over again in a heartbeat. Every day is a blessing. Every day that I'm here is another day that I shouldn't be. I do completely think I would have died by now, especially with the family history of heart issues, the family history of diabetes. I was having blood sugar problems to the point where my blood sugar was so low, I was passing out. I was on a CPAP machine. All those things got better as I started losing the weight. Everything in this world is attitude and latitude. If you have a good attitude, then things will be better. And sometimes you need to change latitude, which means you need to go elsewhere. You need to move, or you need to visit, or you need to travel, because sometimes those things and just getting out of where you're at and seeing a different place tend to make things seem a little bit better. In the end of it, I'm just happy I'm still here, and I'm happy that I'm getting to use this platform to be able to try to educate people. But yeah, that's my gastric bypass story. So if you guys have any questions or anything, put it down in the comments. You know the routine. Subscribe, hit the bell, do the thumbs up, all that stuff if you like what I'm doing. Come be part of the M3 family and help us keep growing. We just did our 500 contest, which I will announce the winners tomorrow. And we will go from there. But I'm excited to see what this journey is going to bring, and I'm glad you're here with me. So anyway, with that, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy life. Do something special for someone else just because you can, because it's the right thing to do. Random acts of kindness shouldn't be random. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye!